Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Knights of the Dawn podcast. I'm Jessica,
And I'm Megan.
and we are here for episode 2 of our new series, Beyonders. We're doing book 1, A World Without Heroes, and we're getting into chapters 6 through 8 today. Gifts through, starts with an
Macroid.
M, Macroid. So,
Yep.
we're excited. It's a good little chunk. It's a lot smaller than what we've been doing, but we're trying out some variation, especially with this new series, to try and get some, well, maybe cut back on the length of the episodes a little bit.
Yeah. Makes it easier for us to get them out faster, closer together. So, but yeah, we're really excited to talk about this. Last time we left off talking to the Blind King. Last chapter we met Rachel, another Beyonder, and I can't remember if Rachel had decided to go with him. I don't
She
think
was, nah,
think
she hadn't made the decision
Yeah, she hadn't made
yet.
the decision yet. But they were gonna sleep on it, and then that's where we're starting with this chapter.
So, a very promising little chunk of chapters today, and we're excited to get into them.
Yep.
So, starts with the morning following their conversation where Jason meets Rachel with the Blind King, where Jason is summoned from his sleep by our friend Dorcio, the mute assistant of the Blind King. So, Jason is he's allowed to change clothes, so he's finally out of his work coveralls, so he's probably a little bit excited about that. But he's
Probably
brought once
smells
again.
a little less.
Oh, teenage boy, you know
It's
it.
been like 5 days in the same clothes.
My Lanta. I always know exactly when my room starts to smell a little bit because it's always fourth period. Fourth period's always the worst because
your
more than half
classroom.
the class, yes, more than half the class is coming either from dance or from PE. It's one or the two.
Yeah.
And I know if anything's going to stick in my room, it's going to be that. So, anyways, so Jason, he gets a little freshened up. He heads back downstairs, and over a nice, beautiful breakfast of eggs, bread,
Yeah.
bacon, all that jazz. Great spread. Jason and the Blind King have a small conversation just between the two of them.
Yeah. Again, the Blind King shows how much he has a map still in his head, even though he's blind. He talked about that, how he, traveled a lot when he still had his eyes, and he, describes to him how to get to the cave where he's gonna find the next person with a syllable in, great detail. And I was like, wow, this is impressive. He's, explaining exactly how to get there and stuff.
I think it's also just as impressive that Jason, a teenage boy, is able to follow these instructions in this chunk of chapters.
That's true. I think it's mostly follow the road, but yeah.
But even then, it's go in
Even
this
then.
certain direction, go south, beyond
Yeah.
the crossroads, then go east. You gotta be able to keep your orienteering. You're earning that orienteering badge here, Jason. Well, way to go, buddy.
So basically, they have to follow the path and then jump off a cliff at low tide and swim into a cave. So,
We're going full Harry Potter 6 with this one.
yeah, basically. Or,
Yeah.
Twilight New Moon for jumping off cliffs. But
But, swimming into a cave where you will find
yeah.
a clue to help you defeat
To
a dark
destroy
lord.
the evil lord, yeah.
I'm just...
You're collecting the things to, yeah.
It's literally... And there's even 6 of them. Because Harry's the 7th. Or I guess, no, Nagini's the 7th. Never mind.
There's 6 syllables, yeah.
Yeah. My nose is way too stuffy right now. Alright. However, the conversation after the Blind King mentions how hard it was for him to recall this information turns to what he endured at the hands of Maldor. And Jason, which I find it very interesting, the setting here. Jason has made himself a hot breakfast sandwich. Everything is piping hot. And he keeps getting burned as he tries to eat it.
He makes his
And I
own
just feel
McGriddle.
It literally, though, he makes his own little McGriddle, but as he keeps trying to take a bite, he keeps getting burned, and so he keeps blowing on it, but even afterwards, he's still feeling the scald of the bites. And I find that interesting that that's coming during this conversation that he's having with the Blind King regarding his treatment,
Incarceration. Yeah.
his incarceration. He even straight up says, Jason asks, how did they erase your memories? The Blind King shrugged. Torture, toxins, conditioning, magic, it is all a miserable blur. I'm wondering if we're supposed to be seeing a metaphor between Jason's tongue getting burned by the sandwich and still feeling the effects later, or if it's like, this is almost like a warning. Like, when you bite into something and it's too hot, you feel the pain as a warning to pull back. Jason's having the warnings, like, he saw the warning in the book to not continue, things like that, but he's pushed forward anyways. And he's doing his best to blow on his food before he eats, but at some point he's just got to plow forward.
I like that. That's something I've never noticed before. But I like that. It's just, you must use caution when, like, going up against Maldor, kind of like that.
Or you'll get burned.
But, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so I just know nothing is ever put in stories without a reason, I feel like.
Yeah, stuff like that can definitely be intentional.
Yeah. Now, it could also just be humanizing Jason and giving him something to do while Galaran's talking about this, which is actually very needed to make sure things aren't just like back and forth dialogue that gets very annoying and hard to follow. Mm-hmm. It could just maybe meant to break that up, but it's always interesting to look into the deeper meanings of what the author might have meant here, what they were trying to insinuate.
Yeah, I like that. And it's interesting because, like, we just continue to see how, like, even though the Blind King is no longer, like, a prisoner of Maldor, like, it's still left crazy scars on his mind, not just his body, and, like, really affected him. So. But after, they are interrupted by a knock on the door, and in comes
the gamester.
The gamester. Bryn the
Bryn.
gamester. Yep. And he gives the Blind King some news that Francine, daughter of Gordon, has been taken and someone was killed. And Jason met Francine, as we know. Franny, that was the lady who he stopped at her cottage on the way and got some directions from her.
Mm-hmm. Who the one with Aster, who she would leave the pies out and let him snatch. But the scene of her home was described. The door hung askew on twisted hinges. The parlor was a disaster. Furniture splintered, everything spattered with gore, tattered bits of fabric clinging to the walls and ceiling. A mangler, the king stated flatly. Assuredly. And it's just like, well, that's a very telling name.
Yeah, we don't even know what a mangler is, but we know what it does. Mangles.
And what it leaves behind.
Yeah. I mean, literally what it left behind. The only thing that's really identifiable from the scene is a part of a gloved hand. And Jason recognizes that as Aster.
I know this is kind of like serious and it's kind of depressing because somebody died, but I'm also thinking of the other mangler that we know from another series. Oh. Unless I'm wrong and it's not called the Mangler. No, you got it.
You're talking, yeah, the Brother Band Chronicles.
Yeah.
The Mangler,
I was
yes.
like, wait,
the giant crossbow is also
Mangler?
called the Mangler, yes.
Yes. But yeah, so that was just my brain just clicked to that for
I
a
didn't
second.
even think of that, yeah. Forgot about that.
All right, so...
Yeah, they also say that Franny had a dog, but they don't see any trace of the dog.
So. And also, Francine does seem to be alive at the very least. Mm-hmm. And the Blind King turns this really into a lesson, or at least he verbalizes the lesson that was here to find for Jason.
Yes. Because
Maldor is very clearly sending a message here. And the Blind King knows Maldor well enough to interpret said message. Mm-hmm. He's like, hey, these are the rules that you gotta play by. Maldor is happy to let you work your way to him, trying to find the syllables of the words so that he can observe you and get to know you and send his own challenges your way. But the second you involve other people, other innocents or neutral parties, you break the rules and you become liable to any kind of retribution. This is him
Mm-hmm.
sending you a message that if you involve other people, they will get hurt. They void all protections and you are basically killing them, or at the very least, completely ruining their livelihoods.
Yeah. And then he's saying that the only reason that he could come to the Blind King is because he already knew about the word. And even then, he still might face some retaliation. So, yeah, this is a good reminder or good lesson to realize how Maldor is and what he does. How swiftly the consequences come. Because that means that someone was watching Jason the whole time, knew exactly who he talked to, where he was, and everything.
And I love Jason's 13-year-old retort. What a psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the quotes from the Blind King here is, "The greater threat an adversary poses, the less vigorously Maldor pursues a hasty demise. He toys with his greatest opponents, baits them, studies them, attempts to shatter their spirits, to drive them to utter ruin rather than merely slay them. For this reason, I remain alive." Yeah, hence the psycho comment, which, I mean, justified.
Yeah. So basically, like, you have to play Maldor's own game. Because if you don't, he will, like, swiftly put an end to you.
Alright, so Jason's now feeling terrible about A. Aster, B. Francine, and even the possible retribution he may have brought upon the Blind King and his friends, but the Blind King's like, this is what I've been waiting for. Don't even worry about it. Just go.
Yeah, he's basically like, the only reason I'm still alive is to help people who want to, like, find the word. Like, that's, like, kind of his sole purpose, he feels, right now.
Yeah.
So, Rachel comes in, and let's see. The way that they are so, Rachel and Jason are so sassy to each other.
They
like,
are.
Rachel walks in, and the Blind King is like, I take it you mean to join Jason. And Rachel says, for his sake, it didn't seem like he'd make it far without me. And Jason's like, ouch. That's the problem with homeschoolers. They haven't learned to interact with their peers. Like, dang.
And the Blind King's just like, stop bickering.
Yeah, he's
And-
like, you guys have only each other to trust and to rely on. You need to not fight so much.
There's got to be part of him who's like, I tried. I was the greatest hero in the world, and I failed at this. We are now entrusting the quest, the most important job in the world, to two 13-year-olds.
13-year-olds, yep. But
I just love him being like, he's just gotta be like, we gotta trust.
yeah.
I do want to wonder, just between all of like their first interactions, have you ever wondered, was there ever a romantic subplot for these two?
You know, I mean, at some point, Jason does think of Rachel as like a cute girl.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like the way that they interact, the way that they bicker a lot, feels more like siblings. But
And I would agree with that.
It could, like, I could have seen it for sure. Like, it could have gone that way, and I would have been fine with it. But yeah, I also just like them as friends, like, you know, and it's
I do
probably
too.
also has to do with their age.
Yeah, but even like in future books, as the years progress, they always stay in like a friend-sibling relationship, which I actually
Yeah.
really do appreciate. You could have boy space friends without them being boy no space friends.
Yeah, and especially good at this age, you know, like, you don't have to be so, you don't have to worry about that, like, you're just kids. And honestly, they have more to worry about in Lyrian than, ooh, does he like me or not? Like,
So, now that Rachel has officially committed herself and is no longer a neutral party, so we are still staying within Maldor's rules. Of course, she was already allowed, I guess, because she was as a Beyonder and being already. Like, I honestly wonder if it would have been possible for her to get stashed away on a farm safely with how much they already knew.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely wonder if they would have been able to get her to safety. But that is a question for another time because she is now committed. They explain the quest to find the word, and the Blind King gives us an extra bit of lore about the word itself. Maldor, being apprenticed to the evil wizard called Zokar, which we read about in the abridged version of the History of Lyrian
Yeah.
by the author unknown. But as a prerequisite to apprenticeship, dark wizards used to force their novices to allow a destructive spell to be woven into their physical makeup. A keyword of Adamic could activate the spell and annihilate them at any time. The practice granted the higher wizard assurance that his pupil would never turn on him. And Jason's like, okay, so serious trust exercise.
Yeah.
They were meant to be simple, convenient tools that gave the mentoring wizard the power to maintain control over his apprentice no matter what. And it was really just a matter of trust. The apprentice had to trust the master to both teach him and also not use the Adamic keyword unfairly.
And also not to share the word, but apparently Zokar did share the word at some point.
Probably after he terminated the relationship with the apprentices. Both Zokar, both Maldor, and what was the third one? There was a third. It was like Orc.
Oh, yeah, Orc. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, yeah, Zokar had 3 apprentices. He got rid of both Maldor and Orc, but eventually he and his last remaining apprentice, or the last 2 wizards died out, Maldor came back, etc., etc. Now we're here.
Yeah. We've already gone over this, yeah.
Yes. So, once again, they reiterate, you got one chance. You learn it all, you say it out loud once, and that's it. So, don't waste it.
Don't throw away your shot.
I am not throwing away my shot. I am not throwing away my shot.
I feel like it's been a while since we've mentioned Hamilton, so I just had to throw that in there.
Obligatory. Last week was
all roads lead to
Narnia.
Hamilton. It's true.
All right.
And this part's good because Rachel's like, "So do you think this will really work?" And the Blind King says, "I wagered my life and the lives of many around me on that certainty. Seek the word diligently. Hope that for a time Maldor will take interest in you and study you rather than speedily crush you. Beware, even his gentlest tests can be deadly. And be prepared for the moment when Maldor will come for you in earnest. The closer you get to success, the greater the peril you will face. The Emperor will not let you succeed. Somehow you must triumph in spite of that." And then Rachel points out the obvious. She's like, "Well, you didn't." And just like, okay. And the Blind King
just
is
claps
like,
back with, "Yeah, you're right."
"Yeah. We can only hope that you will be clever or skillful or lucky where I was not."
I love how those are the 3 things.
Yeah.
If you do your best to think your way out of the situation first, if you can't think your way out of it, fight your way out. And if you can't fight your way out of it, pray for a lucky break.
The 3 steps. Okay.
It's like fight or flight or freeze or something. I don't know.
Clever, skillful, lucky. Hopefully you're one or all of those. All right. Then he's like, "So, Jason, do you know how to fight with a sword?" And Jason's like, not really."
Nothing.
"Got any weapons?" And they're like, "Nope."
I got a camera and a canteen.
Camera and a canteen.
From Rachel, so
Yep.
at least that's something. And Jason has his laser pointer. Can't forget about that.
The deadly laser pointer.
Deadly to all cats. All right. So Jason gives the king gives Jason a poniard.
Poniard?
Poniard.
Yeah. Poniard.
Which is basically a fancy dagger. Now this one's extra fancy because it was made by Bryn the Gamester, and it's got a little projectile. So basically he presses a point on the hilt, and the blade is a quick little short-range projectile. Spring-loaded, shoots out. Wonderful.
Which is cool.
And he also gives a very good piece of advice about swords. He's like, I would give you one, but openly carrying a weapon you have not mastered is more dangerous than traveling unarmed. Beware men who carry swords. They will know how to use them.
Yeah, that is very wise advice. You know, if he uses a weapon that he doesn't know how to use, he's more of a danger to himself than to anyone else around him.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gives Rachel a very special object, which is unique to Lyrian. It's a crystal sphere, just smaller than a baseball, with a small stone inside. This this mineral is aurantium. It combusts when exposed to air or water. Sealed in the sphere with a pure gas, the stone is harmless, but shattering the crystal produces a mighty explosion. An ideal tool for destroying manglers. Even if a mangler bests you, with this on your person, you will not perish alone.
Comforting.
And then he gives an interesting little background about aurantium.
Which is honestly just nice because it builds the lore of Lyrian itself.
Yeah, and it's like a new thing that we don't know anything about. So he says, long ago, at the fringe of recorded history, where'd it go? Oh, okay. Long ago, at the fringe of recorded history, aurantium was mined from the bowels of Mount Alouette, the only place it was ever found. The day came when the miners reached an enormous vein too dangerous to extract, and they abandoned the project. Over time, the method of extracting the mineral was lost, as was the location of the mountain. The sphere is a relic from ancient times, one of the dwindling number of aurantium spheres. What if I cracked the sphere by accident, Rachel asked. You would be blasted to pieces.
Comforting.
But the crystal casing is quite durable. Fling it with considerable force against a hard surface, or the sphere may not rupture. So basically, it's a grenade, but it's also a valuable grenade because there is a limited number left. Mm-hmm. So use it wisely.
I wonder where the name Alouette came from.
I don't know. Probably just
I'm looking at it and I'm like thinking of it. I'm thinking, is it obvious? Like Erised, the mirror of Erised was just the mirror of desire backwards.
Tawola?
Tawola?
No. I think it's something he came up with.
Yeah. Like Zizix. Not.
Well, Zizix is in California too, so.
Yeah, exactly. Hasn't he said before that he saw it on a billboard and he thought it was just funny? Or it was a good word?
Probably, yeah.
I feel like he said that before, but I could be wrong. Alright,
I like what he says, what the king says next. He says, as neither of you is a warrior, avoiding confrontation should represent your best hope. Use evasion and persuasion. The knife and aurantium are meant as a last resort. Live by the sword, die by the sword, Jason said. Quite so, the Blind King said, stroking his beard. And then we get to important lore.
Indeed. We're getting so many lore drops.
We're learning
about the keywords, failsafe. We're learning about aurantium, manglers, and now with this. Go for it.
Okay. So the Blind King says, I have an advantage over both of you. What? Rachel asked. I know your names. My name is a secret. To all save a few trusted allies, I am simply the Blind King. The sharing of my name is no small matter. Many enemies from bygone days would seek their revenge if they knew my location. My beard, my voice, my scars, my premature aging, all these elements help disguise my true identity. My name is Galaran. The name will open doors, especially when you claim me as a sponsor. Use my name when you speak to the man in the cave, and with others who share the conspiracy against Maldor. It may bring aid in times of need. So, now we know his name is Galaran.
And also, we get some more lore dropped. And we also get here confirmation at just who Galaran is. Because he has Jason Neal, he gives him a third and final gift, draws a sword, and lays it on Jason's head, and says, I, Galaran, master of this castle, rightful heir to the throne at Trensicourt, dubbed the Lord Jason of Caberton, hereby transmitting all rights and privileges befitting a nobleman of rank and title. And if we go back to the prologue, about 100 pages at this point, we have made some serious progress. It's very satisfying.
Yeah.
One of the first things that we have our mystery prince, or our unknown prince, described as, is the heir to Trenzacourt. And so confirmation that the man who spoke the word and was deceived and imprisoned underneath Felrook is indeed Galaran the Blind King.
Which means we know something that Galaran doesn't know himself, because he doesn't remember saying the word to Maldor. But we know that he
pieces.
did. Yeah. He says to them that he doesn't think he got the whole word, that he was just captured. So he doesn't even remember getting the whole word. So
brutal.
That tells you just how much they mess up with your mind. They mess with your mind in the dungeons of Felrook.
Of course, there is the possibility that he had an older brother, or like that who had been the previous heir, but
well,
it's pretty heavily implied.
We know that it is him because
he
was blinded and tortured in the dungeons, and we had the prince. So no, it's confirmation that it is the same person.
Yes. So hooray! Name drop Galaran. We can finally stop dancing around his name.
The amount of times the last episode that we said Galaran or almost said Galaran, and we're trying not to before this chapter, was really funny. And even just 5 minutes ago.
So nice to have that final wall finally removed.
Yeah. And we still don't know too much about Galaran, but from what he said, that my name will open doors, but only use it with certain people. I still have enemies. We're kind of getting a sense more of Galaran and his past, and that he has quite an eventful past, and power, influence, enemies. It's pretty interesting.
Everybody wants to be my enemy. Oh, the misery. Wow, that could actually be Galaran's song.
As I keep saying, the pit of despair.
There are so many reels we can do now.
Yeah. And, well, right after Galaran gives Jason this title, Jason has to go and bicker more with Rachel, because Rachel's like, what about me? And then Jason's like, you could be my cook. Okay, Mr. Misogynistic.
And Rachel is understandably, but also a little annoyingly peeved about it, going on about, that's just so rude, come on, why do girls look down, and
No. I think she's 100% valid for this.
I think she goes on a little bit too long, though, just at the point, you realize that you're in a medieval country with a very strong patriarchy. You're not going to overthrow it in a day.
I don't think it's about I just imagine that you got sent to a world and you're used to being treated as more or less an equal. I mean, we're not going to get into feminism stuff and anything, but
yeah.
You go from, living your life pretty mostly equal person,
modern day
to a place where you're kind of being, brought to this place almost kind of like luggage. You don't really have anything to do, and your choice is to either go with this random kid on a thing, and you don't have a lot of choices. I don't know. I feel like Rachel's pretty valid for this, and I don't know. It is kind of this kind of obnoxious boy my age who's just been throwing shade at me is getting to be an actual lord, and I don't get anything, I think
That's
she's
fair.
valid for it.
And she does immediately, pretty soon afterwards, say, sorry if I'm acting ungrateful. You're right, I am stressed. And so that's valid. She recognizes her mistakes. It's just, it does still come up later. She's like, you get a sword, I get a one-off grenade that might kill me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and, Galaran makes, a good reasoning as to why. He says that,
he does.
If you were a lady in, the court of Trenzacourt. The court of Trenzacourt. It's kind of fun to say court twice. Anyway, the nobility of Trenzacourt, that you would be expected, you know, to have an entourage and not be alone because, you know, could trust men alone apparently, but not women. Anyway, but yeah, no, I feel like when I was younger, Rachel used to kind of bother me, and there are some times where she kind of bothers, like the way that he writes her, kind of bothers me. But I think that's more the writing than her as a character. I feel like she's pretty valid for it.
I would agree. I think it is mostly the writing that bugs me as well.
I
Comes off as a little whiny, even though the justification behind it is valid, like for reasons that you said.
Yeah, you know, no shade to Brandon Mole. I feel like he writes female characters pretty well. Like I feel like he writes like Kendra and like all the ones in Fablehaven really well. I feel like he went a little too far with Rachel sometimes. With like, and this is something that I'll get into later, but I think as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate Rachel more and not find her as annoying, because I kind of hate it when people only find the female characters, especially the younger female characters, as annoying and not like the male characters, because that's a little bit of
Jason's definitely
internalized misogyny, you know. And so
no, yeah, Jason definitely has his moments as well. He's like, you could be my cook, and I'm like, dude, are you really just starting the pot right now?
Exactly. I'm like, will you just shut up, Jason?
Don't worry, I will be free with my criticisms to both sexes.
Yeah, and I'm not saying you, but I've like, it's something that like you notice if you like read enough like literature and media, that people tend to complain. Anyway, it's my pet peeve with the Stormlight Archive. People always complain about Shalon.
Yeah, like you'd come out normal if you'd gone through what she had. Come on.
Yeah.
Alright. But yeah. Alright, so moving forward, I really like this moment. This is where Jason, he cuts some of the crap and he's honest for a second. And it's really, really good.
Yeah.
Jason comes up to Galaran. He's like, hey, I'm not sure I'm cut out for this. Are we sure that we got the right guy here? Like, you're telling me all of this. I'm scared out of my mind. I don't think I'm what you're looking for. You need a real hero. And Galaran
drops some bangers.
Yeah, he does. He just goes full grandfather mode / like epic story and
hero, like, mentor, like
indeed
inspiration. So go ahead.
And he goes, so many misconceptions surround the notion of heroism. Far too many categorize a hero as a champion on the battlefield, a commander of legions, a master of rare talent or ability. Granted, there have been heroes who fit these descriptions, but many men of great evil as well. Heed me. A hero sacrifices for the greater good. A hero is true to his or her conscience. In short, heroism means doing the right thing regardless of the consequences. Although any person could fit that description, very few do. Choose this day to be one of them.
It's so good. Like, I'm highlighting that to go on my list for when we do the top 10 quotes of the honors.
Just gonna take a little snippet of that page.
Like, seriously,
section.
it's so good, and this is where you really get a hint of like Galaran's character. Like, we already saw him like not join Maldor and choose to be like literally tortured, possibly to death.
Yep.
And now he's like vocalizing it. Like, he not only can he talk the talk, but he's walked the walk. Like, he is a hero. And so, going off of, you know, the name of the book, A World Without Heroes, we know, obviously in this world of Lyrian, there are not many people who choose to stand up and do what's right, no matter the consequences. And so, it's cool to hear from someone who has, to encourage Jason and Rachel on their journey to do the same.
Amen. Claps for Galaran. Yeah. It's also just really does serve to continue building him up in our eyes. Someone who was introduced at first as a, like, decrepit, like, old, blind, and senile, almost appearing king. But almost immediately, those masks started falling away. He appeared more capable. He gave sound advice. Now we know he has had a huge traumatic past that he's been able to fight through and continue rebelling with. And also, it's just like, we're just getting this picture of who he was and who he is. And they match so well. And they make Jason and Rachel want to fight. They inspire them so clearly to be like, if this man could fight, so could we.
Mm-hmm. It
So
it's seriously inspiring. I'm like, yeah, fight for what's right, you know? it's so good.
mm-hmm. So they start heading out. Jason is continuing to come with the idea, like the mental images of what has happened to the people he's spoken to, the pressure that's on his shoulders currently.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets down to the bottom. They're given extra provisions, and they are alerted to a figure on horseback, accompanied by another on foot, are spotted and approaching the gate. And so the Galaran is just like, well, showtime.
So
get out of here.
Yeah.
We have our heading. Here we go.
Is that the second time you've done that?
Not today.
In this podcast.
We're still at the beginning of the series. It's valid.
Yeah. So, the spies and minions of Maldor are quick on their heels, so they must leave.
They must make haste.
Rachel is going to say that she's Lady Rachel of Caberton and pretend to be Jason's sister. But since they're not actually related, Galaran doesn't formalize the title. So they're going to go around saying that, we're siblings and we're traveling together, basically.
Yeah. So the Blind King really is taking this very, very seriously. And I think that is really well seen in the fact that he does indeed refuse to formalize Rachel as Jason's sister, because it's not true.
Uh-huh.
And for all intents and purposes, even though, as Galaran says, Caberton is a bit of a wreck, and it's been a vacant office for a long time, he is like, it is still yours. It will work, and hopefully it'll help you out a little bit along the way. And I will say, going back to one of our earlier conversations, the fact that Jason and Rachel are not posing as, betrothed or an engaged couple does lead into the fact that they were always intended to be more a sibling relationship than a platonic rather than a romantic relationship.
But also, their age, doesn't... They're 13.
Betrothals, I don't feel like would be that weird.
Traveling alone. Yeah, that's true. But still.
Yeah.
So yeah, basically, they gotta dip.
Mm-hmm.
And they do.
So we start chapter 7, Juggard.
Yep.
And they're hustling.
Mm-hmm. It's actually, there's a few times where Jason will, hurry or, run in these chapters, and then he's, surprised that Rachel can keep up, and I'm like, bro, she ran track. She can surely outpace you.
Especially if she did hurdles.
Yeah.
Those things will gas, I swear, people would come out of the 300-meter hurdles more tired than I would ever be, coming out of 1,600-meter.
Mm.
I don't know if that's entirely accurate, but I know it's a brutal kind of thing. So, Rachel and Jason start quipping once again, of course. Rachel being like, are we sure this is real? Maybe you're all just figments of my imagination. And then, of course, they're like, well, if I was a figment of your imagination, I'd probably be your love interest. She's like, no, you'd have better hair if that were true. Yada, 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 teenage things, etc., etc.
And then Jason is, rude again. And he's like, maybe you're the character I dreamed to scare myself awake. Bro.
Yeah. Yeah, it honestly is giving Seth and Kendra early bickering vibes.
Yeah, they're seriously bickering as siblings, which is kind of funny because Rachel's an only child, and Jason has such a big age gap with his siblings that he's basically an only child too. So I wonder if that's why their personalities are kind of rubbing up against each other. because they're both like basically only children.
But yeah, so they continue on. Rachel shares a bit more about her life as a homeschooled child. She talks about how, like, it's not like she never ever had friends, things like that. She would go to track for that, as well as there's a group of homeschooled kids who do stuff together, and they're able to go visit cousins, the kids, all that, visiting artists, things like that. She
And
does mention that her family is like has like a huge property, like
yeah.
in,
Oh,
is it Washington?
yeah. Well, she did mention that her dad is like a semi-retired software engineer. So like they're pretty well off. I
And
mean,
like
that's kind of the
apparently they
life.
have, yeah, and apparently like their estate has like little cabins for artists and photographers to come and enjoy. And it's just like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, where do I get one of those, please?
Yeah. Can
Who do I need to
I
kill?
can I do that?
But yeah,
And then Jason
and
is
Jace,
like, okay, yeah, if I could, go on a few like nice vacations a year, do school at home, but still play baseball, maybe I would be down for that. So he finally backs off a little bit, which is good.
but he also does
And
some reflection on his own home life, which is
yeah,
revealing. Like,
yes.
he's like his brother and sister, so we do have a confirmed older sister now. We're a bit older. His mom and dad had already always done their fancy trips without kids, which I mean, valid. Parents need a break.
But when you
But at the
only have
same time,
one kid at home, that's also very telling.
yeah, like do all of their fancy trips without kids? Like maybe you do like 1 in 3, either with or without.
And then the
Like depending on what you need for your own life balance, but still.
next sentence, he says, his parents had never really shown as much interest in him as they had in his older siblings. Like, that's sad.
Yeah. But sadly real, I think.
Yeah,
You gotta admit, like sometimes parents just get tired.
it's true.
Like,
It really just sounds like Jason was a surprise child that they weren't
yeah.
expecting or planning on.
And because he kind of is able to raise himself, they let him
Yeah.
because they'd already gone through the work of raising his 2 older siblings, so might as well leave it be, I guess. But it's depressing. This child has issues. He needs therapy, but instead he's on a death-defying mission to save a world. Not even his world. What? Talk about a waste, or not a waste. Talk about getting gypped.
Oh, yeah. They go through some of the stuff that Galerin gave them, and they find a drawstring bag full of pellets of copper and bronze. And Jason's like, what is this for? Slingshot ammunition? And Rachel's like, it's probably money.
Jason fancying himself as David.
Yeah. It's funny. So apparently their money are like little pellets or something.
So
Never really quite knew how to picture it.
I guess I'm picturing. I don't know. I feel like I was almost picturing like little. Like, have you ever seen like pellet stoves?
No.
Well, I was picturing those pellets.
Okay.
They almost look like little pills.
Oh, so you
But not
think it's like pretty small?
I guess if it's slingshot ammunition, it
I
would
w-
have to be a little bit bigger.
Maybe
Huh?
like this, like the radius of like a quarter or something.
I feel like that's really big.
Really? But like a slingshot,
For like a solid copper ball?
a quarter's not that big.
It's still solid copper. That's gonna have some weight to it.
Which is probably what. Well, he does say it's fairly heavy.
But yeah,
And
it
he
also
calls it
says like,
slingshot ammunition.
yeah. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
It just doesn't seem like very practical. I feel like the reason we use coins is because they're flat and thin. They don't use a ton of metal.
Yeah. I mean, it could be hollow.
True. All right. So they're trying to do all they can to conceal their tracks, but they're still kids. They're like you can see them, their traces of their boots, and it's just like they're gonna do what they can, but they know they're not doing great.
I like the part where they're trying to leave like a false trail, and then Rachel's like, "Don't step harder than you were earlier. It might alert them that we're making a false trail." And then Jason's like, "Have you done this before?" And then Rachel's like, "Yeah, every time I escape from juvie." Like, even though like their banter can be go a little too far sometimes, it's still pretty funny. Like, there are some points where I'm like, "That's funny."
It also like reminds me of like how if I were ever in not like this exact situation, but a similar situation if I were being hunted, if I were alone in the middle of the woods, I know for a fact that half my brain, half of my survival instincts would be coming from stuff I'd read in books. Like
Yeah.
Ranger's Apprentice, like Brandon Mole, like Brandon Sanderson, just these kind of like survival esque instincts that the characters have. I can see myself
Uh-huh.
emulating, like Katniss from
Yeah.
Hunger Games, things like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree.
It's just like it would be the only well of experience I really would have to draw from. So,
So they make a little camp, eat some food, and then Jason offers to take the first watch. And, well, that doesn't go super well because he falls asleep and jerks awake at like dawn and, you know, fell asleep on watch. And then when Rachel wakes up, she's like, "Wait, did you fall asleep? Why didn't you wake me up?" And he's like, trying to cover up a little bit. And he's like, "Oh, I just wanted you to sleep." And then she's like, "Well, then why do you have an imprint on your face of like where you were sleeping?" And he's like, "Okay, you caught me."
oh man. Honestly, teenagers can fall asleep at the drop of a hat sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, all of students, they'll be sleeping, and I'm like, if they really, really need it, and I know they understand, I'll let them sleep. But at the same time, I'll be like, how much sleep did you get last night? And they're like, hour and a half. And I'm like, oh my
Oh
Lanta.
my gosh. That's insane.
They're like, my boyfriend. And I'm like, no! You're 14!
Oh, that's, oh my gosh. Teenagers. Teenagers.
Teenagers.
If you're a teenager,
So,
it's just get your sleep. Like it's more important.
if you are
Promise.
listening to us and it is past 10 o'clock, go to bed.
Yes.
If you are under the age of 18,
go to bed.
We will be here in the morning. You can listen to us later.
Yeah.
Oh man, I've become my mother.
You know, this is surprising from you, who
Oh, I'm the biggest hypocrite in the world. That's why I said if you are younger
let
than the age
me
of 18,
tell you guys Jessica's sleep schedule when we were freshman roommates in college. So we shared a room in college, and we didn't know each other before. And there's this one time I distinctly remember where I had a class that I got home at like maybe like 2 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I walk into our room, and Jessica's in bed, and I'm like, have you gotten up at all today? And she's like, "No, but I went to bed at like 3 a.m." And then I think you had a class like an hour later, and that was like your only class of the day or something. And so you got up and went to that. So,
well, I also distinctly remember I pulled one or two all-nighters because someone had the bright idea to introduce
got you
me
into
to Merlin.
Yeah. And
Yeah, no,
you're
it's my fault.
forever in my debt for it. So
I truly am. At least my sleep schedule is. I am continuously writing blank checks for my sleep that my body cannot cash anymore.
So yeah,
So,
do as I say, not as I do.
100%. Again, hypocrisy. A hypocrite is simply a man in the process of changing.
Yeah, take it from us. You need your sleep.
As long as you're changing for the better. And I have done so. I got 7
True.
hours of sleep last night. They walk through the fog that has arisen in the morning, and they make it to the edge of the cliff that they are meant to throw themselves off of. And here begins a disagreement between our two main characters. And it becomes over the topic of who is going to be the one to jump. And contrary to what one might think the discussion would be, it is not one saying, well, I don't want to jump. Why don't you do it? Well, I don't want to do it. You should do it. It's instead, I'm going to be the one. I will be the one to take the risk. And so it's one of our first clues that, yeah, these were the right kind of people to bring. They have the where's the word? They have the empathy and the ability to care for others.
Yeah.
It's a necessary part, and it's a very fatal disease, but it's a good one for the ones that run into you.
But they're also both very stubborn, which goes back to the like only childness of their growing up. I'm just gonna call Jason only child because he basically is.
He really is,
but not in the spoiled way, in the ignored way.
Which probably makes this worse.
Yeah, but like they're both so stubborn that they refuse to like let it
back
go.
Down.
But they're like, you know what? Let's just table this. Actually, no, I don't think they do.
They do.
They decide.
They wait for high noon.
Yeah, they wait for noon. Yeah.
But even then, almost the entire time, they're either resting or debating who's going to be the one to jump.
Yeah, it is funny. They both like Jason falls asleep again, like almost at the drop of a hat, and then when Rachel wakes him up, she's like, do you have narcolepsy? Or like, she's like, do you just like fall asleep instantly? Like, is this like a common problem for you?
Do we need to make sure we keep an eye on you when we operate heavy machinery?
Yeah. So, yeah.
But they're both still at this edge, and they're both trying to debate who's going to be the one to jump. And Jason is offering himself as the sacrifice. Even though, and Rachel mentions this, that he doesn't love heights. Jason's like, I don't like edges. Which is honestly valid.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're standing at the edge of a cliff with nothing, like, to stop you in case you lean forward a little too far. Like, I feel like if you're standing at the edge of a canyon and you have a guardrail to hold onto right in front of you as you look over, not as bad. Especially if it's, like, I don't know, like, rib height. Like, waist height, I feel like it can still be kind of scary. But, like, rib height where you're not going to, like, topple forward over it easily. But without anything in front of you, yeah, I'm with Jason on this one.
Yeah. And the way that... So the reason that they had to wait till high noon is for low tide because there's rocks. And they see that they're going to have to jump out. They can't, like, jump straight off the cliff.
Like, just
they have
step
to
off,
jump.
yeah.
Yeah, they have to jump out a little bit to avoid the rocks. So it's, like, a little trickier of a jump as well.
Mm-hmm. Did they say the total distance or, like, the estimated distance at all?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like it can't be too high, but it's not too low either.
Yeah, I'm looking for
so maybe like somewhere between 20 to 30 feet, which is pretty high. Like, you gotta hit the water right. What does it say?
Jason cautiously approached the rocky brink of the cliff. The view was spectacular. He stood more than 70 feet above the churning surf.
I'm sorry.
And that's not even at high tide.
I'm sorry.
Or that's not at low tide.
These kids are gonna jump off a 70-foot cliff and live with no experience cliff jumping?
Can you look up the highest jump that inexperienced divers are recommended to handle?
Highest cliff jump for inexperienced person. Generally 20 to 30 feet.
Yeah, you were right on the money.
Jumping higher than 30 to 40 feet without proper training can result in serious injuries such as bruised ribs, concussions, or spinal damage.
So, Brandon, in the future, do a little more research.
Maybe not.
A little more research.
Yeah.
That reminds me of
70's
I think,
crazy.
Like, you know in Game of Thrones, like, they have, like, the magic ice wall in the north?
Vaguely, yes.
Well, apparently in J.R.R. Martin's, like, the author's, like, first, like, in his book, I think he describes this as, like, 700 feet tall. Or something obscenely
insane.
huge number. And so when they started producing the show, they came to him with these, like, these sketches, these like the design boards of what that
Mm-hmm.
would look like. He was like, that's way too tall. Like, why are you making it that big? Like, I imagined it much smaller than that. And they were like, George, this is what you wrote. And he's like, what, really? It's that big? I think that just goes to show how terrible people are at gauging, like, larger distances.
Rick, I thought it was closer. Riordan. I thought the
People
river
are
was
good at
closer
large
to the
gaps.
arch.
Oh, I thought you were talking about,
No, I'm
the
talking
age
about
gap.
I'm talking about the arch. Rick, I thought the
Also
river
valid.
was closer. Riordan. It's so funny. Anyway,
But you got Arthur's just they make some dum dums a little bit. And
Yeah.
honestly, who knows? Maybe it's Jason misjudging the distance.
that's fair. That's fair.
He already doesn't love heights, so maybe he's just
His vertigo
saying this
is
looks
making
like it'd
it
be
look twice as
75
tall.
feet.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, so again, as we were saying, they're both being very, very stubborn about who's going to take this death-defying leap into the oblivion. And let's see. Jason, trying to make his trying to cover his bases, goes, the first syllable is A, just in case.
Yeah. I like how he's trying to be like, it's not a prize, it's a punishment, you know? Like, he's like really trying to convince her, and he's like, if I like the part where he's like, you know, if someone was offering to jump off a cliff instead of me, I would be grateful. And then Rachel's like, I am offering to jump instead of you.
Yeah.
It's really funny.
So, but Jason, he wakes up from his nap and he's kind of he's about ready to take this into his own hands. He's taking off his boots, he's stripping down to his boxers so that he doesn't have to swim with extra weight on him.
Yeah.
And Rachel, getting a little nervous, she's like, you're not very shy, are you? Which, I mean, he's a teenage boy and he's a baseball player, which means he's probably had experience in locker rooms, so I'm gonna give him that one.
Yeah.
But they continue on. Like, she's like, I can do this. And Jason's like, you can jump off the next cliff. Just don't be stubborn. And they're both accusing themselves as being stubborn. Apparently, and this honestly actually twitches a nerve with Jason, because apparently his parents always accused him of being obstinate. At home, he often got his way simply by outlasting everyone else. Which, I mean, based on what we're hearing about his home life, is probably the only way he was able to really get things. With how much he was, we're not going to say ignored, maybe neglected is the better word. He had to be
but it's also
very firm with what he needed or wanted.
Or also his parents just didn't have the patience to outlast them, so they're just like, okay, you get what you want, basically. And Rachel's like, okay, well, let's flip a coin. And Jason's like, our coins are pellets. And then Rachel's like, no, I think I have one. And so she fishes out a coin, and they call heads or tails. And Rachel correctly calls tails, and Jason says, I lose, and then he turns, runs, and jumps off the cliff.
Which irks Rachel, because the terms of the heads and tails was the winner picks who jumps.
Yeah.
So Jason really just did ignore so because Rachel had won, she was supposed to pick who jumped, and she was probably going to pick herself. But Jason, completely ignoring that, says, oh, I lose, bye, and just jumps off. Which, I mean, kind of a baller way to go, if you don't come back out of this.
Yeah. And as he comes to realize, other than the height, the swim after the jump is very treacherous. The ocean is pretty strong, and he can't really fight against the current, so he lets it push him into the cave. And he makes it into the cave.
Yeah, every time he tries to get a little farther in, so with every surge of the waves, he's pushed further and further.
Yeah.
Until he can finally catch on a jutting rock and pull himself out. So he walks in to this narrow, narrow cave, and he finds a spacious grotto after a little bit. It's not very light in there, but he does find a still, wiry man seated upon a ledge against the far wall, 10 feet above the water level.
And so he climbs up the ledge, and he, well, first of all says hello, but there's no answer. Okay, I guess he says hello first, and then he climbs the ledge. But he describes the man as fairly broad. Oh, the ledge. JK. I'm just gonna start over. The ledge is, there's enough room for a few people. And the guy is sitting back to the wall, legs crossed to the ankles, tangled gray hair covered his face, dangling from a narrow waist, and he's holding a length of seaweed. So the guy is not saying anything to him.
And props to Jason. I probably would not have lasted as long as he did. But he just sits down. The man speaks 3 words in total for the first few minutes, and it's just, I am jiggered. Mm-hmm. Where Jason is introducing himself, saying, so can you speak? I was sent by Galaran. He said he helped you. Will you help me find the word? Looking for a word. Can you hear me? And the man's just staring at him. Jason just tries to have a staring contest. He loses. And so he's just like, okay, bet. If you're not going to talk, I'm not going to talk either. And they just sit there and stare at each other all day.
He's basically like...
That's very boring.
Yeah. He's basically like, okay, I've made my purpose known. I guess I'll just wait for him to talk back to me. And hopefully he's not completely crazy.
And honestly, in this man's defense, he mentions later, since Galaran, who at the time was probably in his 20s maybe, and is probably now in his 40s or 50s.
Yeah. Well, maybe, yeah, I don't know.
I would say it's probably been at least 30 years since Galaran failed his quest. Alright, that's just going to be the number I throw out right now.
30 years. Yeah, I have no idea. It's actually a good question.
But Juggard mentions that since Galaran, only 7, I think? 5? 5. 6. No, 6. 5 men
6.
and 1 woman.
Okay.
5 men and 1 woman have visited me. He says, of those, and so in the past probably a few decades, we'll say, he's met 6 people. No wonder he's good at staring contests, A. And B, you can't blame him for not having much social abilities.
Also, he kind of says that it was a test. He says, you're wise for one... The first words that he says to him after not talking for, a while, he says, you're wise for one so young, Juggard said at last. Most men cannot abide silence. Some fly into a rage, some become clowns, some confess all they know. Silence reveals much. I will assist you, Jason, friend of Galaran. And so I feel like not only is he a recluse in the cave with no one to talk to, but it's also kind of part of his way to test people. So
I also wonder if this is a little bit of a entertainment. He's like, some people fly off into a rage, others become clowns. He's like, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not gonna mess with him because they want the word syllable. So
silence can speak volumes.
So Juggard is like, so you have 1 syllable, and Jason's like, yep. He's like, okay, so you got a long way to go. I can give you a couple pieces of information. 1, he gives the 4th syllable of the word. It is N. E-N. So we now have the first syllable and the 4th syllable. A and N. So he also mentions...
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. He also says the word has 6 syllables. So Jason and Rachel already have a third of the word, which is nice. Mm-hmm. He says he doesn't know the location of the other syllables, but he knows of a man in Trenzacourt who might be able to help. If he's still alive, his name is Nicholas. He once worked closely with Galaran, and that he should go visit him in Trenzacourt.
Solid 3 pieces of information. The syllable, the number of syllables, and the advice about Nicholas. The problem is going to be getting that information out of the cave.
Yes.
Because, as Juggard mentions, he has a neighbor. And they're not very friendly.
Mm-hmm.
By which we mean it's a titan crab bigger than a car that kills anything that moves in its cavern. And again, it's like 50 feet away in the next cavern.
The only way to get out is going through the next cavern to a, like, shaft where there's, like, a little elevator type thing that takes you up.
Yes. Dare we say ascender, like from
Ascender.
Book 3 of Five Kingdoms.
He does also say you could try to swim out and climb the cliff, but the cliff is, as we know, large and hard to scale, and the current of the waves are very violent. And he says a few people did try to swim out, and they all died. And a few people tried to go out past the crab. They all died. So the odds are not in your favor.
You die by drowning or by killer crab. Sorry, probably should have
poison.
Yep. So Jason's like, what do I do?
I also want to say this crab was not here when Galaran came. It came after. So Galaran doesn't know about the crab.
Yes. And everybody who's come since has died.
They have not lived to tell the tale.
So Juggard then proceeds to encourage Jason to go and get a little peek at Macroyd, the killer crab. She's a she, fun fact. Apparently Juggard knows his crabs, which, I mean, after decades of eating just seafood, he probably would. But he takes a luminescent piece of seaweed. He gets into the little crevice that separates the two caverns, and he leans forward. And Juggard even says multiple times, do not try to make it. He's like, I promise you, you will not make it.
He's like, walk like no more than like 3 steps into the cavern.
And then get back.
Yeah.
All right. She will be fast. Do not go for the ascender. Just take a look and get back. So he gets into the crack. He moves forward. He steps forward a little bit. And without any warning hardly, she erupts from the pool and charges towards him.
It says he gaped in awe at the Titan crab. The massive creature was the size of a car, not including a huge pair of claws bigger than public mailboxes. The shiny black armor of its carapace gleamed wetly, reflecting the green luminance of the seaweed. The creature stood at the edge of the water, great claws upraised, snipping open and closed with harsh sheathing sound. And it starts coming at him fast. That he barely has time to get away.
And he just hears the crashing of the shell and against the stone and the snip of the eager claws behind him. And Jugger just grabs Jason like, okay, deep breaths, deep breaths, deep breaths.
Yeah.
Now you understand how screwed you are.
Yep.
So Jason's now like, what on earth do I do? He's like, so wait, how do you survive in here? Like, you don't go past to get food or provisions or anything? And that's when Juggern's like, well, the sea provides. There's fish, urchins, kelp, shellfish. And then fresh water, I get a little small trickle every so often. So I survive, but it's just like, Jason's like, what do I do? How do I get out of here? And Juggern's like, I don't know.
He's like, I can't really help you. Everyone that's tried has died. And Jason's like, could I maybe shout the syllable up to Rachel? But like that's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
And Jason's just kind of sitting there trying to figure it out. And then I like the last paragraph. Jason returned to the wiry, grizzled man and sat beside him, back against the wall. He rubbed his cheeks, looking for stubble. He hardly had any facial hair. He He wondered how long it would take for him and Juggard to look alike.
Props to this kid. He's smart.
Yeah.
He's not overconfident. He's not going to make a run for it without knowing for sure that he can survive it. Or at least having a decent hope that he can survive it. Juggard then alerts Jason to the approach of someone else. And Jason's like,
well, that's the end of
Jason...
the chapter.
Oh, right.
End of chapter 7. Chapter 8.
Chapter 8.
Macroid.
Alright, so that's when Juggard alerts, like, oh, somebody's coming. And Jason's like, what? She wasn't supposed to come. And Rachel is pulled out of the water. And immediately, good manners, she goes, I'm Rachel, she told Juggard. Juggard, the Shaggy Man responded. And Jason's like, what's going on? And Rachel reveals that soon after he jumped, something started charging towards her. She couldn't tell what it was. It moved low, and it wasn't a horseman, but all she could really see was the motion. She thought about using the Orantium, but she didn't think she could get it, and it was too fast, so she just said, she put it off to the side, which Jason is a little sad about, because he's like, damn, we could have used it against the crab.
Yeah.
And jumped, because she was afraid that the impact would make it break, which, I mean, valid.
Yeah, that is valid.
So...
Now they're both stuck down there.
Yeah. I mean, at least she's fully clothed, more or less. Like, she took off her cloak and vest, but she's not in her boxers like Jason is.
But all of a sudden, they hear another noise. And they realize that the creature jumped in after Rachel. And Juggard recognizes it as Boarhound, or a dog. And it is snarling and making all kinds of noises and jumps out of the water and starts jumping at them, trying to get them on the ledge. And Jason recognizes it as Franny's dog, Puggles.
Which was reported missing with Franny yesterday.
And we learn that, well, Juggard guesses that the dog has been basically taken over by what's called a conscriptor. And now the conscriptor has it, like, under its control, and it can, like, have it do things. So basically, the conscriptor is using it to track Jason and Rachel and attack them.
So, just for context, apparently Maldor starts off with the gentler challenges. Besides, the seeking of the word that has led them into the den of a titan crab. And just for reference, I'm gonna find the description of Puggles.
It's a big dog.
Yeah, it was back in the Blind King chapter, I believe it was chapter 4.
Yeah.
But he was described as, the beastly canine looked like a bulldog the size of a Saint Bernard. Its hair was short enough to imply it had recently been shaved bald. The animal shook its deeply folded face and emitted a brusque sound between a growl and a cough. Jason would not have been eager to steal anything from a house with such a monstrous guardian. So, that's what's currently snarling and snapping at them.
Yeah. And it has no, like, it's not acting like a normal dog because it's under the control of something, so it has no inhibitions. It is just trying to do anything it can to get at them. And so...
Which honestly makes me wonder what happens when a human is conscripted.
Yeah. You never really see that.
Because conscription is usually used to refer to just, like, you're
conscripted into the army.
Yeah, you're drafted into the army, basically.
Yeah,
So, is that what...
Well, like, yeah, it means, like, forcibly joining the army. So, like,
yeah,
you're being forced under the control of the conscriptor.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, like, is when they conscript a human, is that, like, modern-day military conscription, where it's just, like, you have no choice, you have to come fight, but you still have your own mind? Or is it more like Puggles conscription, where you are now a mindless slave monster serving the emperor?
To make a comparison to Fablehaven, it could almost be like being under the control of a narcoblix, but maybe they have less control and you might be more mindless, I guess.
It's almost like Bucky with, like, the words in his head.
Yeah.
Like, he chooses how to implement the orders, but
true.
if he's given orders, he has to execute them. But yeah. Interesting. So Rachel's like, I jumped off a cliff to escape a dog? And Jugger's like, take another look at the dog. You made the right choice.
Yep. But Juggard is like, well, we can use this. That dog can be used as bait for Macroid. Mm-hmm. So basically, the idea that they have is that the smell of blood sends her into like a frenzy. He talks about this one time that he accidentally cut himself, and for hours after, even after he cleaned up his wound, the Titan crab was desperately trying to get into his cavern because it smelled blood. And so basically the idea is that Jason and Rachel will start off into Macroid's cavern to get a little bit of a head start, and then Juggard will cut the dog and let it loose, hoping that Macroid will then go for the fresh blood instead of Jason and Rachel.
No pressure. You just have to be in the middle of a killer sandwich where a crab's coming at you from one direction, a giant dog's coming at you from the other, and you just have to kind of hope that they miss you and hit each other.
Yeah, basically.
And the timing has to be absolute perfection.
Yes.
Because if they run in too early, Macroid will get them and then get the dog. If they run in too late, the dog will get them before they get into the cavern. But Juggard's like, don't worry, I got it.
They have to put a lot of trust in Juggard, but he is the one that knows, so...
Mm-hmm. So he attaches a leash to Puggles, around Puggles' neck. They position themselves, and on his signal, Juggard simultaneously cuts the leash and slices Puggles' side. And as he does so, they are charging forward, sprinting. Rachel is just in front of Jason. A little bit stubbornness this time, not gonna lie. Mm-hmm. She's not as eager to take the back position on this one, I'll say.
I mean, what's that in, like, if there's ever a zombie apocalypse, you don't have to be fast, you just have to be faster than the slowest person.
Exactly. I just have to be faster than you.
Exactly.
So, now, to be fair, when Jason starts to stumble, she reaches back, sacrifices a little bit of her momentum to keep him on his feet.
Uh-huh.
As they're charging forward. And thankfully it works. Macroid smells the fresh blood, she goes for Puggles. However, it doesn't take her too long to snip Puggles in half, literally.
Yep.
Like, literally, snip it in half.
Jason sees it when he stumbles.
Yeah, and then come charging back towards them. They barely make it to the crevice that holds the Ascender. And Jason only makes it because as he gets close, Macroid collides with him and he is thrown tumbling into the crevasse.
Yep. So they just
but they
barely make it. And Juggard is like, are you guys alive? And they're like, yep. And he's like, wow, you're the first. Can't believe that actually worked.
And of course, while they're talking, they're hearing the lovely, I'm sure, sounds of a crab digesting a deceased dog.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yep. So they're like, okay, let's get out of here. So they go into the little shaft and they find the little sender, whatever, elevator thing. Basically, they just have to, like, pull a lever and it will, like, take them up on a pulley to the top.
So they pull the lever, and okay, this one gets on my nerves a little bit. This is one of those examples of not great writing, because Rachel is still pretty peeved with Jason about jumping even after they'd agreed, well, even after she'd said,
after she won the coin toss.
Loser. Yeah. And so they get on top, and Jason's like, I'll pull the lever, and she's like, no, I will. And because she says, I'll throw the lever. I should do something. And it's just like, it's a moment where I'm like, really? Like you saved his life pulling him up out. Like, is that not doing something? That was one of the instances where I'm like, that's not my favorite example of character, but I don't think it is a great example of her character here. I don't think she
Also,
is that petty.
I feel
I
like
think it's just a
Jason
bad
would have said
example.
the same thing. He just
Yeah,
said it first.
yeah,
So, yeah.
that's true.
But I agree. But Jason does thank her for helping him up. And he's like, "You pretty much saved my life." And she's like, "Well, what are friends for?" So they take the elevator up and they have to climb up a little bit more to get all the way out. But they do make it out. And, well, we continue to talk about their stubbornness because
It's a good topic.
it is a good topic because
It's
let's
an
see.
important thing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically Rachel's like, I'll take the next risk. And um Rachel makes a good point. She says she studied it skeptically. I think it had a lot to do with getting your own way. If we want to succeed, we need to be able to trust each other. I can be stubborn too, but we need to be teammates. And then
I think this is a
Jason,
much better way of getting her point across about what her character is.
yeah. And Jason's like, "Yeah, you're right. I like getting my way. But sometimes stubbornness can be a good thing." And then he tells a story about how he was stubborn in a time where, like, the assistant coach for his baseball team was about to quit. And he, like, told him, "Oh, if you don't want me to leave, like, go run 100 laps." Like, not doing it. And then Jason actually ran the 100 laps or whatever. And that was, like, a time that stubbornness was good. But I feel like they both need to learn at a time when and when not to be stubborn.
Because I would agree with Jason. There is a time when you want to be stubborn, when you need to quote a certain movie, sometimes you have to plant yourself like a tree and say, "No, you move." Quote from Captain America Civil War.
It's true.
Because sometimes that is what it takes to not cave to, like, for example, doing something immoral, like caving to peer pressure or things like that. Like taking the easy road instead of the hard road. Sometimes you have to be stubborn in doing what you feel to be right. However, that stubbornness needs to take a back seat when what the hill you're dying on is not worth defending.
Well, and Rachel makes a good point is that, like, she's like, I need to know I can trust you. And, you kind of just went off and did your own thing. And while being able to trust someone for, like, coin flip isn't that important, she does make a good point of, like, we both need to be better at this. And we need to take it seriously and not just be determined to get our own way.
I think really being stubborn is usually like the negative connotation, where being like firm is like the more positive connotation of the situation. Or like steadfast almost.
Honestly, it's it's like what there's it's a good discussion because you got to have discernment about it of, like, when and when not to be stubborn, when and
Yeah,
when not to hold your ground, when to
agreed.
compromise. Like, they make a good point of, like, there are good and bad times to do it. So that's what they're learning. They're still kids. So
Amen to that. Alright, so they get shot up by the Ascender at a much faster pace than they were expecting, so it's not exactly a slow, gradual elevator ride that they can chat on. Like, they had to do the chatting before they pulled the lever so that then it could then be sent up. They get to the top, and they have, like, a minute to get off before it shoots right back down. It is not meant to be a reverse use. It is meant to be an ascender and not a descender.
yeah, it's cool because it has, like, a rudimentary timer.
And even more, like, once it returns back to the bottom, the chain that it's attached to is covered in barbs so that you could not climb back down. So, once they get to the top, though, they get back to the ledge where they'd been standing. Jason finds all of his clothes, slightly gnawed on, but still intact. So he manages to get them all back on. They're, at this point, they're kind of coming to a realization of what they just went through.
Yeah.
Like, once the boarhound showed up, everything happened so quickly. Rachel had to jump, they had to get the noose, well, the leash around Puggles' neck and just charge into the tunnel with Macroid. Jason had some frame of reference. He'd seen the crab, and he'd had a minute to kind of confront the fact that this is bad. Whereas Rachel, from pretty much the second she arrived down in the cave, it was go, 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 we gotta go, go, go.
That's true. She didn't see the side of Juggard, the nonverbal side of him.
Yeah.
So they go off a little further, and then, it's starting to get later, and so they decide to make camp because they're both really tired. And now they're back to the, all right, who's going to take first watch and not fall asleep on watch? Because Rachel's like, well, we need to take this seriously, because if we don't, we could end up, with
Like Puggles.
Like wake up dead. And Jason's like, well, you wouldn't wake up if you were dead. And she's like, okay, whatever.
But yeah, what it comes down to is Jason's like, hey, I took that nap earlier, you go to sleep. She's like, are you sure? He's like, yeah, don't worry, he thinks about the crab. I've been scared straight.
Yeah. And Rachel's like, well, we need to have a punishment if you don't...
If you doze off.
If you doze off and don't keep your watch. So Jason's like, okay, so how about the one who messes up has to smell the other socks? And then Rachel's like, no, not bad, but I think we can do better. How about you have to smell it and put it in your mouth? And Jason's like, well, that's disgusting. And Rachel's
like, I would have the much worse punishment, but I know I'm not going to mess up. This is really just for you.
Yeah.
Which, that does sound like a little sister thing to say.
Yeah. Well, she's also like, it has to be something we don't want to do so that it motivates us. So, they agree on the punishment, and that's the end of chapter 8.
So, a fun set of chapters. It gives us a very good frame of reference of what the rest of the book's going to be like. Mm-hmm. A series of short little adventures looking for the different pieces of the words, while also overcoming the individual challenges that Maldor sends for them. And
also learning piece by piece more about the world of Lyrian. And, meeting new people along the way, so.
Like Galaran and Juggard, and think people like them.
And, well, the next set of chapters are all named after different people, so the next one is Tark.
Maybe we'll do some recruiting.
But yeah, that's the next set of, that's today's chapters. We already have a third of the word.
And we're about, let me check to make sure I'm not talking out of my
third through the book
right here. We're at page 148 in this copy, and there are a total of, too far. Oh wow, there's 454 pages. We are almost exactly 1/3 of the way through the book.
Yep.
Because if you think about it, 148 is a little bit below 150. 150 times 3 is 450. So I would say 3 pages below. We're 4 or 5 pages shy of exactly a third.
31%.
Unless you count the prologue, which I don't think is listed in the pages.
So yeah, we are actually a third of the way through.
Yeah, so go us.
That.
All right. Well, any thoughts you want to share to close this out, or are you good?
I don't know. There's not too much that happens in these chapters. We get some cool lore about Galaran and the world in a little bit, but then we just start to move right along to kind of pick it up the pace a little. What about you? Anything else?
Like I said before, it's a good entrance. It's good, just like the first few chapters set up the world building. This one's setting up the pattern for them. For the most part, we're going to follow. Mm-hmm. But yeah, should be quite fun.
Yep. I think we'll do the next 4 chapters in the next episode.
Yes, we'll meet a lot of new people, so that should be fun.
Yeah. The next chapters are Tark, Ned, Farron, and then Jailbreak. So.
Okay, so one that's not a name, but other than that.
If you know, you know. Mm-hmm. It'll be fun.
So, yes.
So yeah. But if you don't have anything else, I think that
Nope, I'm good.
wraps up this episode for today. thank you all for listening to this episode of the Knights That On podcast. We super appreciate it. We're excited to keep going deeper into Beyonders and learn more of the mystery of the word and everything. But yeah, thanks for listening to this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a like or comment. I promise, I know we're not always the best at replying to the comments, but we do read them all and
enjoy them immensely.
I have
as
a goal,
well as emails.
I have a goal to reply to all of them and the emails. Sorry if we're slow. We read them and I promise we will try to reply or like all of them in the very least. So yeah, you can go check out our YouTube channel or leave us a comment or send an email to us at knightsthatonpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to keep checking on updates for the Fablehaven film. That's moving right along. At this point in time, they're about to start the backer kit to fund the movie, so that's exciting. Things are happening. Also, I think auditions have started, so...
They have. If you're interested, get on there.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Remember to share this podcast with a friend. If you know anyone that likes Brandon Mull's books, please share it with them. We're always trying to grow our community. And we're excited for the new book that's coming out just here in a few weeks. What's it called again?
Guardians, the
Forbidden Mountain. Yes, that's the new one. So we'll be covering that when it comes out. And we'll keep updates on anything significant about Brandon Mull's books or the movie and stuff. So, yeah. That wraps up this episode of the Knights That On podcast. Until next time, I'm Megan.
And I'm Jessica.
See ya.
Follow the music.